Welcome back. The English cricket team, the world's top-ranked side, is visiting New Zealand next year. It will be the first time in 7 years that Auckland's Eden Park will host a test match. But a group of committed cricket fans, led by TV comedian Jeremy Wells, are making a play for an alternative. Shelley Nart reports.
Tonight, we're targeting targets.
He's best known as a TV comedian. But there's one topic that makes Jeremy Wells awfully serious. Cricket. He's come into bat for moving Test cricket from Eden Park to downtown Victoria Park, a flat green space nestled between the city and the wealthy suburbs of Freeman's Bay and Ponsonby. Auckland values this park so much the government was forced to spend over $300 million on a tunnel that avoided any more motorway lanes above it. But it's caused a storm in the proverbial Ponsonby Latte Cup.
You're going to restrict the area, as I understand it, if they're going to put stands and stuff in there.
I think it probably could be a good idea. I mean, you need more of a stadium closer to the CBD, but that is one of the only public areas that's quite close to Ponsonby. And
I would just be a little bit worried about the size of any stadiums.
Eden Park is home to Auckland cricket, hosting international tests, one-day matches as well as local games. But the stadium has long been criticised as a venue for Test cricket. Fans say the field is badly configured and it lacks atmosphere. These concept drawings show how Victoria Park could be transformed into a boutique ground with an embankment, pitch and practice facilities. Jeremy Wells has pointed out that the venue is perfect for drawing in city workers at lunchtime or after work, and it's near popular bars and restaurants. At present, the park is used by a number of sporting clubs, but mainly the Grafton Cricket Club and Ponsonby Ponies League Club. Auckland Cricket wants to stay at Eden Park, but the Victoria Park idea is gaining support. Who will win this toss?
Who will indeed. Let's welcome to the programme self-confessed cricket nut Jeremy Wells and local resident and arts patron William Sommerville, who wants Victoria Park left just as it is. Welcome to you both. First of all, why Victoria Park? Why is that the best venture or best place to have a Test cricket ground in Auckland, do you think?
Well, let's look at the other options. Test cricket hasn't been in Auckland since 2006, which is a bit of a problem. The other options are, I'm told, a stadium out in Albany, which would have to be paid for and built. The other option is potentially Colin Maiden Park in Glen Innes. Now, both of those options are 25 minutes drive from the CBD, and what we know from overseas examples is that the best Test cricket grounds in the world are the ones which are within walking distance from the CBD, because Test cricket is played over 5 days, and 3 of those 5 days are when people are working. So if you want people, most people work during the week, so if you want those people to attend, then you need to put it somewhere where most of the people work.
William, Mr Sommerville, so we're talking about maybe 1 or 2 tests here, so maybe 5 to 10 days. Could Victoria Park not be accommodated for that period of time? It's not a lot to ask in terms of, 5 or 10 days.
No, well, I don't think so. I think moving Test cricket from Eden Park to Victoria Park is a really bad idea, because there's no room for it to move to, and there's really no need for it, and there's certainly no money. Victoria Park is a beautiful little park, but it's absolutely packed. It's already heavily booked for code sports like touch, rugby, soccer. There's never enough time for the one-day events like the Auckland Triathlon around the bays, and it's always used by kids playing ball, people doing their fitness training. And it's not just me saying this, the council's own management plan says it's already reached capacity for sport, and in fact that might have to be reduced because of recreational use.
What's the feedback you've had, Jeremy?
We've had a huge amount of support, thousands of emails of people that would love to see Test cricket brought back to Auckland. And so far, out of all the options, they think that Victoria Park is the best way to go. We're talking about 5 to 10 days at the moment, and 3 of those days, let's actually break it down. On a Saturday during the summer, the ground is taken up by cricket anyway, so and most Sundays as well. So it's not like people can walk their dog through the middle of the ground at the moment anyway. So the Saturday and Sunday of a Test match would be taken up by cricket anyway, and those people who play Test cricket, or those people who play cricket in Auckland, they don't play cricket on days when you have a one-day or a test there, so the ground would become available. It would be basically 3 days that we're talking about out of 365. But the other thing that we want is, we're not necessarily just interested in turning it into a Test ground. ground because we don't want big stands. That's not really what it's about.
There'd be temporary seating that would come in.
It's about building an embankment which would enhance Victoria Park.
Right.
And then potentially bringing in some tents. We don't really want to hold. People want to sit on grass and they want to have a picnic and they want to watch Test cricket.
We're not talking here, Mr. Sommerville, about one-day cricket, which can, let's face it, get a bit out of hand. It's Test cricket. It's, the purists' game. It's your cucumber sandwiches and your San Pellegrino water and sitting on a rug, if you like, on the embankment. It's a pleasant thing to do, surely, for, a handful of days.
Oh, of course, I understand that 5-day cricket has suffered at the expense of one-day cricket, and these days it's probably best played in a small venue. But Auckland doesn't have a basin reserve, and frankly, photoshopping a picture of the basin reserve onto
the basin
Western
reserve's
Park,
quite charming, though, isn't it?
Exactly, that's exactly the point.
So couldn't you do the same with Victoria Park? We are talking about maybe one test, and let's face it, if the Black Caps are playing, it's probably going to be wrapped up in 3 days anyway.
Yeah, but this completely underestimates the costs and practicalities of trying to move or have an international pitch in Victoria Park on a temporary basis. And that's exactly why Richard Bock said on Tuesday that this scores 0 out of 10 for practicality. And the problem is that it's already heavily used, and yes, 5 days of cricket, but the set-up costs of putting up the stands, putting in security fencing, having a drop-in pitch, meeting ICC standards will all take much more time and be much more expensive.
Some would just suggest that this is the well-heeled of the area wanting to reserve Victoria Park to, walk their labradoodles, that they're trying to block something that's, really quite a cultural thing in New Zealand. It is ludicrous, surely, that in 6 years we haven't had a test in Auckland. It's the country's largest city.
Yeah, but that's not to say that Victoria Park is the right place to have that.
But it's 5 days, though, isn't it? We are just talking about one test.
No, it's already scheduled for Eden Park, and if you think that Eden Park is not an intimate or attractive enough venue, there's 3 other ovals in Auckland, all of which would be a permanent site in which could be developed, and we simply don't have the money to spend on Victoria Park, and you can't displace the existing users.
The reality is that that those other options won't be used, so people won't turn up. When New Zealand play India in a test match, we have the potential to show off our city for 5 days to a potential audience of 500 million people. That is a huge opportunity. You cannot pay. It would cost millions of dollars to get a 10-minute advertising slot in that situation. We want to... That is the kind of opportunity that Auckland needs, and you've got 5 days of showcasing the beautiful city, the CBD, to a huge potential audience of tourists. This is something which potentially could cost between maybe $3 and $8 million. A lot of the money would come from private funding. It's not a huge amount. All that we're asking probably of the council is the opportunity to use that space for that. It's not going to cost them a whole lot of money.
What do you think of the critics who oppose this?
Well, I think everybody wants to use parks for their own good. Everybody wants what they want. But I think the majority of Aucklanders actually are after a shared community experience, and something like this would provide a large-scale shared community experience. It would also enable things like Taste New Zealand and other festivals to use the park. Because at the moment, Taste New Zealand have to ship all of their water in. There's no water facility in Victoria Park. That sounds insane. But it's just simple things like upgrading those sort of things so more events can use the park, because people want shared community experiences.
Mr. Sommerville, what is it you oppose the most? Is it, potentially up to 5,000 people there? Is it having restricted access for maybe a week in a year? What is it that you oppose the most?
What I oppose is that it's already used to its maximum capacity, and you can't just displace those people, and it's not just 5 days.
But you saw just on that track there were some people riding BMX bikes on the side of the thing, and the rest of the field was completely empty. Where was it being used there?
It's not just for 5 days. I've walked through that park thousands of times, and the embankment will take up 20% of the existing sporting fields.
No, it won't take up 20%.
They'll be burying 20% of the sporting fields in an area which is already short of space.
That figure, you've just plucked that figure out of the sky. That's not true. It's not going to be 20%. In fact, it'll be about 3 or 4% of the actual sporting field.
It's 20%. I've measured it off. And the fact is, those sporting fields are under very heavy use, and we can't afford to sacrifice that. And also, the embankment will destroy the core design of the park, which is that triple ring of plane trees, the walkway and the gentle slope, which makes it so successful.
Are you also irked by the fact that it's a celebrity who's backing this?
No, of course not.
No?
And I think the other thing to realise is that I've lived in Freeman's Bay since it was a slum, but it has become wealthier. But the block to the east of there is one of the lowest income housing blocks in New Zealand. So it's a myth that this is just some rich people who don't want their Porsche Cayennes dented by cricket ball as they drive by.
Jeremy Wells, I'll give you the last word.
Well, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for Aucklanders to have something great in their city to get Test cricket back, something that can last another 150, 200 years, because Test cricket will never go away. Albany's not going to work, Colin Maiden's not going to work, so this is our best option. And one day, when they demolish that flyover thing that's going through, which they plan to do, we will truly have one of the most special and unique Test venues in the whole world, which is quite something.
We shall see how this all plays out. But gentlemen, Jeremy Wells and William Sommerville, thank you very much for your time this morning.